Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I am super excited about our guest today. Kim and I met, I guess, a couple of months ago, and we've just been talking ever since. And she's, like everybody on here, she's very dynamic, and her story is pretty cool. So glad you're with us today. Okay, I'm going to read her bio and bring her on. So Kim Russo is the founder, CEO, and lead designer of On Brand Designs, a boutique design studio in Charleston, South Carolina. She began her career working for top branding agencies in New York City after getting her degree from the Fashion Institute of Technology in packaging design. In 2018, after spending her entire career in corporate, which is one of the things we're going to talk about later, Kim decided she was ready to make a bigger impact on a smaller scale. She left the Big Apple and started On Brand Designs, which just celebrated its 4th anniversary. Kim moved to Charleston in 2020 and has been focused on growing her business ever since. Her areas of expertise include brand strategy, brand identity, website design, print graphics, and packaging design. She loves creating scroll-stopping designs for queen bee female entrepreneurs that make you say out loud, "Ooh, I love that." Learn more at onbranddesigns.com. When she's not busy working, Kim enjoys crafting, painting pet portraits. Oh, you need to check out her Etsy site. It's freaking awesome. And laying on the beach or by the pool with her friends and family. So without further ado, let's bring on Kim.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm so pumped to be here. So excited.
I know. I'm so pumped to have you here. It's so funny because, you left New York. I left New York. It's like everyone's leaving New York. Okay, that's not true, but but you left New York to go to South Carolina. Now, is there a reason that you went to South Carolina, or?
So, my life plans of being in New York forever kind of changed, and decided I wanted warm weather. And so the real driving force why I got here is my parents retired to Hilton Head. And I went to visit them and I was like, man, I want to retire. So I figured moving closer to them and down south here was like halfway to retirement. So
There you go.
I get to enjoy the nice weather and, the leisure activities that offer year round here and get to see my parents more. So,
Which is awesome. Yeah. And I'm just going to, throw out there that South Carolina is not always warm because my wife and I told you this, we went out for the AIST conference in, actually it wasn't a conference, it was, I guess, a mini conference in Charleston, and it was in January, and I froze my ass off.
Yes. But it's not New York.
Well,
I haven't seen snow.
I got news for you. We were on the battleship, and it was freaking cold. It was like 10 degrees.
Oh. Then you came down. Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it, but we were out there.
I'm still not a full local yet, but I keep forgetting because it's not the Intrepid, but it looks like the Intrepid.
It looks like the Intrepid, but it's not the Intrepid. And it's really cool. I mean, it's really cool, but and then we went on the submarine too, but it was freezing. It was like 10 degrees. And all I did the entire time was bitch. Like, it was supposed to be warm. It was supposed to be warm. And then they're like, hey, let's go on a carriage ride. I'm like, it's 30 freaking degrees outside. No. And we went on a carriage ride. And then I borrowed this guy's hat and I sent Heather the picture. It was like one of those Yukon hats that he had. And I sent Heather the picture and she's like, why are you using somebody else's hat? You can get lice or whatever. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm so cold right now.
They don't sell them on the streets here like they do in New York.
I know. Exactly. You just
need an umbrella, you need something in New York, you got it. Here, not so much.
Exactly. No, exactly. I know it's true. Anything you need in New York, right? I remember I used to go through 2 of those umbrellas a week. Like $5 on the side of the road, and as soon as you open it,
upside down. Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny. So,
Yeah.
so, so you've been an entrepreneur basically for really more than 4 years, right? You've been in Charleston for 4 years, but
So
you
I've actually been
also
in Charleston for 2.5 years.
two and
So
a half.
I
Okay.
started on brand when I left New York 4 years ago, but I kind of ended up all over the place. I moved in with family in Dallas, Texas. Thought I'd set
Oh,
up in
that's
Dallas, Texas. Stayed there for a few months with my brother and his wife. They had to move to Illinois shortly after I got there. Went to Illinois, hated it. I was like, this is not what I wanted. I was getting away from, they were suburbs, but Chicago, city. I
Mhm.
was getting away from cold weather. I was getting away from that city life. And so it wasn't until
Chicago.
I was there for about 8 months, not knowing where to live, and my parents came to visit, that I was like, oh, hey, I'll move to Charleston. So it's
Wow.
been January, will be 3 years in Charleston. So
Okay.
yep. So I started my business, but I really say it's been 2.5 years because I think once I moved to Charleston, my whole mindset shifted. And so I started it in almost this like freelancer mentality because working back in corporate, I always did freelance. And so
Right.
I kind of had this shift to like, oh, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. So
Right.
yeah.
That's right. I'm not doing freelance anymore. I actually own my own business. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
yeah, no, I get it. And we kind of made the same journey because I went from New York to Chicago to
Mm-hmm.
Indiana, which is not Charleston, I know, but Chicago to New York anyway.
Yep.
So when after you got out of the Fashion Institute, you were working. You were doing working for a packaging company or designing packaging.
Correct. So I immediately started working for, I had about 3 different big agencies that I worked for doing packaging design. So they were big bunch of packaging agencies that did all different types of brands. And so my main responsibility was doing production for packaging, um, you know, back panel design, contributing to front panel, photoshopping. So it was all based solely in packaging design though. So
Cool.
yeah.
So then,
So
what made you decide to become an entrepreneur?
when I was working in corporate, I had all these companies that I was like, I want to get into this company and this one, and then when I would get into them, I just felt unfulfilled. I felt like I had these big ideas and these big corporate climbing the ladder, what that looked like, and it seemed so cool at the time. And then when I was in it, I was like, oh, this is not the same. There was politics in it that, between people that I just didn't align with. I sometimes felt like an outsider, especially when you like switch companies and you already have clicks in there.
Mm.
So there was the social aspect of it that was really sort of intimidating, and the rules, and people would pick favorites, and so certain things people could get away with where I couldn't. I mean, I remember, now I'm a morning person, but I used to not be, and people would get in, be able to take a million cigarette breaks, and I would be 5 minutes late and work super late, meet up with my friends when they're already out drunk at happy hour. And it just
Right.
like the culture of it was just very disappointing. And then creativity, like I didn't get to do a ton. So I would work on a design, it would make it to a certain level, and then somebody more senior would butcher it, or take somebody else's work, or I'd have like a little teeny piece. And so there were certain projects I had bigger roles in, and I would go in the store. Dwayne Reed was a big client of mine that I would be able to actually walk in and be like, hey, I did that, like all the store signage and layout. So it was exciting when you got to do projects like that. But so much of it, you would put your heart and soul into it, and then somebody else would just, have the upper hand, or the upper, pick someone they like, pick their design. So it was just too competitive for me, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
And you only had one aspect. Like I think I'm more of a people person now, but I always did feel like I wanted to be more involved. And there's like a hierarchy too in corporate. You don't get to speak to the client. You have to deal with this person. You have to, so it's a lot. I guess I wanted more control over design and have more creative freedom.
Yeah. Wow.
So
And so do you miss corporate at all, or no? Not even.
I'd say the only thing
Like hesitate there.
yeah, the only thing I would miss about it is that even though I would stay late some nights, I could check out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't check out ever now.
True.
So even when I'm trying to enjoy life and go do things and I'm on the boat or the beach, I'm still like, oh, that something pops in my brain, and you're trying to grow and do all these things. So it's harder to turn off the clock.
Yeah. Well, you as an entrepreneur, especially in the first few years, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when we first started Gas Stove, I had a partner back in the day, and he handled the server and all of that stuff and all the technical aspects. And and I'm on the boat in New York with my wife and on my cousin's boat, and my phone starts going beep 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 beep. And it's like, what in the hell is going on? And it's like 60 texts saying my site is down on a Sunday. And I'm like, oh shit. So I call him up and I'm like, or I texted him. Oh no, I called him and I'm like, what's going on with the server? Because everybody's site is down. So it was a national outage. So there was nothing that we could do about it. So and I called every single person and said, hey, it's just a national outage. As soon as it's back up, I'll let you know. And then 4 hours later, when I got the call that everything was back up, I called everybody to let them know. And it's like, you're never off, right? Now I can turn it off a little bit, not 100% though. 8 years in, I still can't shut it off 100%. And half of the dames would be like, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
This is why I'm going to a workshop next week and doing other stuff. But 100%.
It definitely gets better, but it's still, even when you try to turn it off, I feel like I'll think of something and I'll be like, oh, I need to tell my assistant to do this because I'm going to forget if I don't do this now. So,
right.
But it is getting better. But yeah, I definitely don't miss corporate at all. I don't think I'm hireable anymore. So, I've gotten so used to doing my own thing and on my, even though I cater to, working the traditional hours and some, and but I still go with my own flow in a sense. So I don't think I'm hireable and can be told what to do in that sense anymore.
I don't think any of us are. I mean, I can't imagine somebody, because I used to find that the places that I worked, I had people less qualified telling me how to do what I'm really good at. And now I would be like, no, fuck that. No, and then they would fire me because I'd be like, I'm not doing that. I mean, I already did that as it was, I was working for newspaper.
I ever did that.
I definitely, oh yeah. I was working for a newspaper and they're like, you have to sell this. Like there were certain publications that you would have each month, right? That had like different, so one would be like a builder's showcase, and then, one would be like entertainment, and then the next month would be something else. Well, they wanted me to bring the building thing into my entertainment clients and sell them like 4 colorful page ads. And I was like, no, I didn't tell them no, but I walked into my client and I would go like this. Okay. And they were like, what? And I'm like, I just showed it to you. I'm supposed to show it to you. So you've seen it. You have no business being in there. I'll come back next month when our publication will actually serve you and, maybe, help you. And they used to be like, well, let me see it. Or how much do you need to, like, they would be concerned on what I needed to make my number for the month. It was crazy. And I'm like, don't worry about my number. I'll be fine. You just have to be in there. And they would buy a full page ad anyway. And I'd be like, oh God. But I would tell my boss that, I really don't feel comfortable doing that because I don't think they're going to get a good return. And so my boss hated me. So, it was
tell her.
But yeah, so I was always like that. And I think that when I started working for myself, I could never go back because I'd be 10 times worse now. I would literally be like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Find someone else to do it. Okay, you're fired. So
I
You
think
know?
just like the scheduling, because like just making my own schedule, I don't think I could be on somebody else's daily schedule.
Right? You have to get up at like whatever time, and then you have to be somewhere at a certain time, and then you
Yeah.
have, yeah, no, no. I like, because if I want to work late at night, I'm going to work late at night.
Mhm.
And if I'm going to sleep in a little bit
Yeah.
to make up for that, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So tell us about on brand designs. And also I want to talk about your Etsy shop because those dog,
Okay.
I want to talk about that too, because
Okay. That's my side passion.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess that's what you call my freelance now, except for my freelance is I work at my desk during the day. And then at night when I go to the couch, I'm like, okay, this is my freelance time.
right.
Same work, but
Shorter commute.
yeah. But
Yeah.
it is funny now when people ask me like, oh, do you freelance? I was like, no, this is my business. Yeah, so on brand designs, I started it 4 years ago. Like I said, kind of like a freelancer working with existing clients, trying to grow into new clients. But now it's become much more of a boutique design agency, focusing on more of like the VIP aspect of working together with like day rates and producing more high-end quality work. So on brand designs came from me being able to keep things for your brand on brand. So designing everything with a cohesive look. And that's something that like is a pet peeve of mine. If I see brands and things don't align, like got a million different fonts everywhere,
Oh, I hear you. Yep.
like colors aligning, like I like to see it. You look at it, you know it's your brand. So and whether I've created the brand from the beginning with the logo or not, I can see something and I just have that ability to be like, hey, this is how I can make everything look on brand for you. So that's kind of how that name evolved. And so everything stays on brand. So we really do focus on all the branding aspects so we can do that for you. So
Yeah, which is really important. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves too. I'm like, you need brand consistency. Like when I work with my clients, it's like you can't have this piece look like this and then this piece look completely different because there's no cohesiveness. And if there's no cohesiveness, Iris is sad. So, if you're going to be working, with me, it's got to be. So I get it. That's like my OCD. It's like the gas stove thing on here is crooked and nobody notices it, right? But I walk in and I know that it's like maybe a 16th of an inch off. And the person that I work with for my promotional items came in last week and I had her stand here and I said, look at that. And she's like, it's crooked. I'm like, I know. So it's like, you have to have an eye for it, right?
Yeah.
So you said the VIP experience. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So, I've kind of done some testing around and I've realized it's so much more efficient and you get things done faster, more to what you want when you work sort of one-on-one. And I've gotten to the point I graduated college in 2005. So I've been doing this for a long time. So I've gotten to the point where I'm confident in my design skills and I can design pretty quickly. But it just makes the process smoother when you work together. I feel like there's less back and forth. You can have an engagement conversation why I'm designing. Like I can tell by your reactions. So whether it's Zoom or in person, I can kind of tell if you're liking it, you're not liking it. It also helps with kind of focusing in on that like final brand strategy of getting your ideal client and having it done right. So, I do the traditional, you tell me, fill out a little questionnaire, tell me what you want, and I can do a logo for you. But it just is much quicker and much more, for lack of a better word, perfect when we do it together. So these kind of VIP day rates or these whole experiences where we can do the whole strategy and the whole brand together and just set you up for your new business or, if you're rebranding or even if you have an existing logo, but you're maybe not attracting the right clients or want to shift a little bit and really pull in that higher end client, this will help get you there in a more cohesive way, faster, definitely less back and forth, and you get to be involved in the process too.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a added bonus I know people a lot are like, oh, I just want it done for me, but when it's done for you, but with your personal brand in mind too, because I think all brands reflect the owner and the personal brand that they are. So having, that relationship, and I tend to become friends with all of my clients anyways. So we get to hang out, So,
Which is awesome. And, you said that, changing a logo to attract, your right audience. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't get that little tweak make a big difference. So do you want to explain that a little bit, like how making that change attracts those people?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess just making that shift, it's really just color can attract a different person. So you could have the exact same logo, but maybe a font or something may speak to a higher end market. Or if your target is females and maybe your font is a little too masculine and men won't be, or females won't be attracted to it, and you can make it look very similar, but like little adjustments can make it be attractive to that person's eye. So that's
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew that. I just wanted that out in the ether for people.
Because they don't. You kind of do similar things and have an understanding for what is aesthetically pleasing.
Right. So I have a client that I'm working with, and we talked about this. Yep. He's very married to his brand and his logo.
Yep.
And it needs to be updated, right? It's like it's got to be updated, and he knows that it needs to be updated, but I just think he's really like not.
So you can take a logo and hold true to the identity with colors, but just as simple as like cleaning up some shapes of a logo or cleaning up the font, or maybe the font is slightly shaped different around an icon, or making it into a different lockup, but the name's the same. Similar colors could also work if you have that brand identity and those are your true colors. But that was actually one of the biggest things that I did learn in school was they had us do packaging rebrands for already existing brands that are already successful.
Wow.
So it was a good way to kind of be like, okay, this is already working well, but how else could it work well too? And look like it's still part of the brand and not much is different. But there's just little things that you can add to modernize it that people will notice and be more attracted to. They maybe not notice that there was a huge rebrand, and they'll notice still like, I'll recognize that brand, but that little bit like, oh, I'm interested.
Right. That's cool. See, that's, yeah. So who is your ideal client?
I love working with female entrepreneurs because, like I said, they end up becoming my friends. And, especially working in sort of this day rate, sort of, I call it the designer brand experience, but it's a very intimate way to work with somebody. And so with that, I really do prefer working with females because it's just a similar aesthetic to me. So I can understand their what they're thinking and what they're attracted to. And I do like to design more feminine, not to say I don't like working with men. Men are great. And I like to be creative and work with all things, but female entrepreneurs in the lifestyle service-based industries and a little bit of like product, but more customized product because I like to do packaging still, but not necessarily on the big store brand level.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah. So folks listening out there, okay, that's if you fit that bill. So, and then let's talk about your passion project because first I want to give you a shout out because you very generously donated a portrait to our silent auction for unmasking. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We're like super excited. My partner in the organization was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I was like, I know. So we're just like, oh.
I actually shocked myself when I did them. when I first did it. So my background is fine arts. That's kind of where I started growing up in arts and painting and drawing. And went into graphic arts because I was like, oh, I'm going to be a starving artist, So I wanted more of a career type job or career in design. So I kind of thought I lost that skill because everything is computer and digital. So a couple of years ago, when I was leaving my brother, when I was staying with him and his wife, I wanted to give them something special as a gift. I'm a big crafter, so like a lot of my holiday gifts and birthday gifts are usually handmade. So like bracelets
Wow.
or paintings. So they have two dogs and a cat, and my brother had a dog that unfortunately passed too young, and we all loved him. So I thought as a good gift to give them as I was leaving, thank you for staying, was to paint all of the animals. And so they went out of town for like a week, and I just painted these over this week by myself in their house, and I was like, whoa, they actually look like them. So it just kind of, then everybody was like, I want one. And then unfortunately my little sweet angel passed away shortly after I moved, so she was the next one that I created. So they're all custom.
Yeah. Yeah, which is awesome. And what's the website?
So it's on Etsy, and it's called A Spot of Paint by Kim.
A Spot of Paint by Kim. Okay.
Yes. So, right, and I'm actually nominated. Sorry?
Go ahead.
I said I'm actually nominated for an award, a Spark Award at the AMA, American Marketing Association, next week for the logo I created for myself.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
For that one or for On Brand?
For that logo. So On Brand is nominated for designing a Spot of Paint by Kim's logo.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a fun logo I created for myself, and now it's up for an award.
Well, because it's cool. I mean, it's, you do good work. So the people listening to this are people who are entrepreneurs, people who are thinking of becoming entrepreneurs, people who may have lost their job and have to become an entrepreneur, and they're thinking about it. So what advice do you have for people that are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
If you want the freedom and you desire to have not only financial freedom, but just freedom to do what you want, I would say totally go for it. But my biggest thing is that I wish I did 4 years ago, which I just started 2.5 years ago, was invest in coaching and networking groups and just putting yourself out there, listening to podcasts. Like if you're here, you're already ahead of me because I just started doing this about 2 years ago. And so just learning all the things. So for me, my background is design, so I didn't know all the things about business. I didn't go to school for it, but you don't have to go to school for becoming an entrepreneur or business or anything, because nowadays with online, you can learn from so many specialists and get it done so much faster. Right. So, I definitely recommend like listening to podcasts, getting courses, getting coaches, that pertain to you. There's always, I've done some courses and I'm like, there was no reason for me to take that. But I think it helps you get ahead. Is if you want to be an entrepreneur, like figure out what you want to do, figure out what your niche is and what makes you passionate, what really like drives you and ticks you and like makes you excited to get out of bed, and invest in help. Don't do it alone, because you can, it just takes longer. And then also, make sure you have that sort of, I guess, nest egg or some sort of financial income while you're doing it, because it can be a slow grow. So whether you have a part-time job on the side, freelance until you're deciding what you want to do. But that's my advice.
Interesting, because it's funny because every person that I've asked that question says something similar, but yet different. And that's what I love about it, is that there are so many different aspects to becoming an entrepreneur, right? And there's so many different ways to do it. Like, for me, it was like out of necessity. I lost my job, and it was like, do I sit home and collect unemployment, or do I do something else? Because I knew I didn't want to work for anybody else. Right. And then one of my clients from the place that fired me was like, they're stupid. The most they ever got out of me was 200 a year, and you sold me a $45,000 a year contract. They're idiots. Let's do a business together.
Mhm.
And I, at first was, I liked them and everything, but I drove up to Chicago and we weighed the pros and the cons, and the pros won out. And it was like, okay, let's do it, and we did, and we were rocking and rolling for a while.
Mhm.
Like the first 6 months was like, as soon as people heard I was like doing my own thing, it was nuts. Like we
Mhm.
had to like beat them off with a stick. And then I ended
Yeah.
up having shoulder surgery, and it knocked me on my ass for like 6 weeks, and my pipeline disappeared. So everything, yeah. So everything that we had, so then we had to like start from scratch.
Oh my goodness.
So it went from not having a job to feast to famine. Um, and I always tell people that always prepare for that famine,
Mhm.
because you never know, especially if it's just you and somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, because it's great when it's great, but it
Mhm.
sucks when it's not, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the reality of it.
So I
So
kind of was freelancing already. So I had clients that were mine anyway. So I just started doing it freelance. But I did have a contract client who I still work with now who did help fund that. So if I didn't have that support, then it would have been much harder to do, especially during
right,
COVID, because this was still pre me shifting my mindset into like, hey, there's so much more I can do with this than just design. And I can
right,
create so much more. And so if I could go back, I would have during that time, rather than like making bracelets or figuring out how to get a new client with no understanding, I would have put a lot more effort into that slow time, because there was a slow time that I was a little nervous that you know there was doom and gloom forever, and I would be sitting there rolling my thumbs. But
right.
now I could fill up my time all day with stuff on my business. And back then, I was sort of fresh to having my own business and didn't understand all the things that could happen. And so
Yeah,
I do kind of look back, I'm like, man, I wasted that time. Now I'm like almost hoping for some of that time where I can have a little less work and focus on some work, and then go back and forth. So,
right.
um,
So
but
more like working on the business instead of in the business, right?
And before,
Yeah,
I didn't know how to work on my business. So I lost that opportunity that I'm catching up for now. So I definitely, that's another big thing that I would highly recommend is work on your business too, kind of split it up, because
yeah,
otherwise there's not a huge way to grow.
yeah. And that's what I've been doing. Has been I joined a workshop for next week, and I've hired an EA and done all of this stuff. Um, and I've always been like, I can do it myself. I don't need help. I can do this myself. I can do that myself. And then it's like, I don't have time to do it myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, posting on LinkedIn, I don't have
Yep.
time for it. I haven't done a video, like just a video that's not the podcast, on LinkedIn in 3 months. That's insane. I used to do like 2 to 3 a week, and I
Wow.
haven't done it in 3 months. And I'm like, I got to get
Because
back to
work
that,
is getting busier, and yeah.
because it's getting busier. I'm working on the
Mhm.
business. I'm working in the business.
Yep.
I fired my accountant. We talked about that.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's been interesting. Like, I am not a books person. I was trying to do math. This is like so
I'm not
sad.
in numbers or left right.
Oh my God.
Under pressure, I can't tell you left or right in the car. Like, but
Numbers for me, it's like I can add in my head. I can sit there and you can give me, 2045 and 3045, and I can tell you that that's, 5090. That's like not, but when I'm sitting down and I'm trying to figure out what percentage to sell something on, and then I'm sitting there and then I get the number, but I'm talking to the client and I'm like, oh yeah, it's this much. And I'm like, oh wait, no, that's wrong. And talking to the client and it's wrong. So now I'm
oh
like,
no.
let me figure this out and I'll call you. Like, I've learned that much. Let me figure this out and I'll call you. But I don't even want to do that, because
Yeah.
you know, I've figured out, I have the formula now on what I do. So that, thank God, is good. But I'm having, I'm hiring an accountant in October too, because I can't do that shit, and
Yeah.
what makes, what makes a good leader and what makes a good manager is that you, you realize the areas that you may not be that strong,
Mhm.
and then you get really strong people to fill
Delegate.
those areas. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
Yes.
so
I
that's
used to dream of having people, a small team, to help me out. And I finally have that and I'm growing a little bit more. And it's like, where was this my life? Like
it's
they're
cool though, right?
amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're still, I thought I had all the worries like, oh, can I afford it? Can I have enough for them? Like, and I do, I think I need to hire more
Yeah.
because now that they're helping, now there's more's coming in and it's opened me up to do more things and
Mhm.
growing my ideas to even bigger, projects. And so now I'm like, this is awesome. And this is great to have the support, but hey, I think I need more help.
Right, right.
So, but it is pretty cool to like, a year or two ago, I was like, oh, how cool would it be? And now it is actually really cool. So,
Manifest that shit. Put it out in the
yep.
universe, and that's So, um, so speaking of manifesting, so we
Yeah.
we share our woo woo gene, which people call woo woo, but we know. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
And it was really weird because the last two moons, so the new moon and the full moon, the new moon, I manifested a certain number, and I told you
Mhm.
like 3 days later it was there, and I was like, where the
Yeah.
heck? Like, it was
I need to
crazy.
practice that one.
Yeah, that was kind of nuts. That one made me go, whoo. I mean, I had to pay a bunch out, but the number was there to be able to pay that out. And then I manifested something else this past weekend, and I came in to do work, and my desk falls apart. Like
That one gave
literally
me
falls
chills.
apart.
When you told me, I got like goosebumps.
That was nuts. I literally, I came in. I mean, it could have fallen apart when I was at the door. It could have, right? But I sat down, pulled
And
out the
nope, we're
notepad,
done.
started writing, and all of a sudden, boom. And it was like, that was fast. It's like, okay. Oh, but did I tell you that my desk, my new desk,
Mhm.
was being delivered? I looked today, they were delivering it to my old address. And thank God I looked,
Were
because
you
I'm
able to
like,
track it back and switch it?
well, yeah, I called. Oh my God. So first off, I called UPS, and I'm like, don't deliver that. That's a 200-pound package. These people are going to, you can't deliver it. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, the only people that can change that is the shipper. So I called Staples, and they're like, the front line guy was like, well, we use a third party, and they're going to have to. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Let me talk to your boss.
Yeah.
And he's like, ma'am, my boss isn't going to help you. And I said, put your boss on the phone. So then the boss gets on the phone, and Bill was very helpful. And he said, let me call UPS. And so they're going to hold the desk. And a friend of mine with a really big ass truck is going to help me tomorrow get it, pick it up from UPS. But
It's good to have good
God,
friends.
yeah, right. No, he's a really good friend. But I mean, it was like, thank God I looked, because I'm like, said it will be at blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, that's not the right address. That is
No.
not the right.
We manifested that away.
Well, no, the old house was fine. I mean, I actually loved our old house. It was
Oh,
just,
it's your old house. Okay. So the
yeah.
people
Oh no,
from
not
you
their. No,
I
our,
gotcha.
yeah. And so they would
Yeah.
have been like, well, thank you
What is
for
this?
this desk. It's like, no, that's my desk. Thank you. Give me my desk. But no, our old house it was a great little house, but it was jutted up against a semi main road, and I
Okay.
couldn't do COVID, worrying about people throwing shit over the fence at the dogs or hurting the dogs. So I was like, we got to move. So um, we did. But and then the people that bought the house from us, because I called them, like, because Heather was expecting something, and the timing was just really weird. I called last night, and he's like, "Oh, we moved in April. We moved to Florida. We sold the house." And I was like, "What?" So I don't even know the people that live there
Oh,
anymore. So
that was Bookish. Huh.
Yeah, it was
So that
kind
was
of
pretty
interesting.
quick. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. So, but okay. So for people who are seasoned entrepreneurs, and I know that you may not consider yourself seasoned, but you are. You've been in business, what, 2.5, 4 years. And you've gone through.
I like that. Two
You've
and a
gone.
half, 4 years. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah. No, that's right.
you are right. I mean,
Yeah.
so what is something that you've gone through that you came out the other end of that somebody might be going through now? So something like an obstacle that you had to overcome.
I think the whole concept of hiring that I just kind of mentioned is that, that you can get help. You don't have to do it alone, that you can find help that's reasonable and comparable. It's just finding someone who clicks with you and who understands your goals and, can help you grow in the long run. So I think, even if you're seasoned and you're used to doing it by yourself or just a small team, like you can add to that team and get that extra help. And also just reinvesting in your business, reinvesting in yourself and learning new things. And don't be scared for change and growth. And, I'm doing things now that I never even dreamed of a year ago. I was like, wait, I can do that. I'm working on a course now for designers. I didn't think I'd be a course designer. I'm working on doing a podcast. You would have asked me 6 months ago, I wouldn't be too scared to even speak on here. I had to do things to be more confident. And, it took doing one seminar that I did. I was a panelist and I was so nervous for it. And there was other people on the panel and I was friends with some of them. So it made me a little comfortable, but so nervous. But I just was like, yeah, let me get out there. Let me do this. I don't have to have the pressure on me fully. And I did it. And I was like, wait, I know what I'm talking about. And so it kind of lit this fire in me, like, hey, like, what you're talking about, what you're doing, you can do so much more. So it kind of gave me that, like, don't be so scared to try new things. Don't be so scared to like think outside the box or pivot, don't, just go out and try new things and don't be stuck. I guess I think I was stuck and I just realized, hey, I can do all these things. So
and isn't that a great feeling? Like when I know, like I'll be sitting there, talking to a client and, Jen Kochen talks about, imposter syndrome and how it's not a thing, but, it's not technically, but, there are times where, we doubt ourselves, right? And we're like, do we really, are we really, good at this? And then I find myself talking with one of my clients and I'm like, well, hell yeah, I know my shit. I know my shit, and then I get, and like right in the middle of that conversation, it changes. And then it's all like, okay, balls to the wall, let's go. Because, now I'm like 100% in it. And I think that's the best. I think that's my favorite part of being a business owner is that when you're with that client and when it does click, and that's like the best feeling in the world.
It is. And I love helping people. I'm a giver, like, talk about love languages actually the other day, and I'm like the gift giver. So people say they like to receive gifts. I like to give gifts. I like to words of affirmation, all those things. And so I like to help people. I'm a people pleaser. But my, like, what makes me so happy is just making people happy. And so kind of being able to like share my knowledge and be able to talk about design confidently or what I do. I mean, heck, I've been doing it for 20 something years. Like I can talk about it. I can do it. And it's just having that confidence and then working with people and they're like, wow, like, all this stuff. Like, that's pretty cool to like help them.
I was talking to somebody who's a client and I was giving her just like marketing 101, just like giving her a couple of tips. It's like, I know you're my client and you're paying me for this, but just some things for you to think about, and, we'll throw it on the bill. It's like, no, that's not what this is. For me, yes, I want to make money. Of course, we all want to make money, right? But I'm like you, I truly, I want to help people. And I was telling Kofi this last night, I'm in this because if what I do can help make a difference in somebody's life, in somebody's business, um, then I go to sleep very happy at night.
Yeah.
And I had a
I want other
client tell
people
me,
to succeed. Yeah. You want other
yeah,
people
right.
to succeed. Yeah.
You want to be that hand up. I always call it like, the hand up. And one of my clients in this Christmas, and this is like my favorite story to tell, and I probably, the audience is probably sick of it already, but he said to me at Christmas, I go around locally. My national clients I send gifts to, but my local clients I bring, gifts to. And I was dropping off a gift, and he gave me a basket, and I was like, you're not supposed to do that. I'm giving you a gift. And he said, no. He said, I just want to say thank you, and I want you to know that what you do isn't lost on me. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, it's not lost on me that your efforts put food on my guy's table.
Yeah.
And
so cool.
Man, it just completely shifted my perspective on what I'm doing. It was always, I want to help your business grow. Now it's like, holy shit, I'm helping you feed people. That's a lot of pressure, right? Like when you think about it, you're like, wow, I never looked at it like that. But at the end of the day, that's what we're doing, because if he's in business, then he can afford to pay his guys, and then his guys can, afford to feed their families. So it's like a domino effect. And that just forever changed me. It really did. And where I always wanted to help people before, now it put me on to more of a.
Well, you see the impact that it has.
Yes. Yeah. And I never thought of it before. I just thought, I'm helping you grow your business. You're making more money. I'm making more money. We're all happy. But now it's like, holy shit, I'm responsible for feeding your guys, So it makes it puts a different perspective on it. But it's a good perspective because it makes me work that much harder for them. You know what I mean? Not that I wasn't working hard for them before. I always work hard for them. But now with that in the back of my head, it's like, it makes a different outlook, I guess. So is there anything that you are currently, I know your VIP program, but you were talking about the design class. Like what things do you have in the works now that you want to go in the year?
And speaking of helping people, I'm working on a course to give designers kind of the upper hand that I didn't have the 4 years ago when I didn't know. And it's just kind of giving all the things that I learned in these 2 years that I really focused on my business. So, being a designer, you don't necessarily have that entrepreneur brain. I got lucky, and my father was an entrepreneur, and I kind of got that piece from him. He's also an artist too, so I'll give him credit for both. Wow. But I never thought of myself as a business person, entrepreneur, more of a creative person. I've had to teach myself a lot and gone through failures and struggles and, trying to figure it all out in a fast way, an expedited way. And so I want to do this process for everybody that is starting out where I was 4 years ago, and give them all the tools to set their design business up and give them the resources that they don't know, because it's all into one unit. So it's going to be everything from like, hey, how do you figure out your niche, which I think that's for every career or business. It's not just designers. But then I'm going to give I'm giving tips of how to build your portfolio, because I think that's a big thing that even now today, when I'm like, hey, I have a friend and she wants to do this, and I think it'd be really cool in my portfolio, but maybe she's not paying me what I'm worth and what I'm getting, but I can help her grow, and it's going to look so cool in my portfolio. So let's do it for each other and help each other grow. And so I feel like a lot of designers don't know that, hey, why don't you go help somebody and build your portfolio? Because a lot of sort of pains that I saw people do is, hey, how do I design something that's fake to put in my portfolio? But you don't have to do that. So I'm kind of giving you like templates and, ideas of how to create these things, and how to create a good brand for yourself, because I think that is something that some designers just kind of skip through. And I know sometimes some of the things they do, people are like, oh, just get it done. Like, perfect doesn't have to be perfect, just get things done. But the design for me has to be perfect, because if that's what I'm selling, you're going to hire me based off of my design work. So I got to have the best looking designs there is out there. And so I feel that way for all designers. And I do think that there is, a gap for some of these new designers that don't have that mentoring. I mean, I learned so much working in the industry. So that's the one thing I do not regret about corporate is, I had people sitting next to me that were amazing designers, and I could just like peek over their shoulder, or I'd start designing and then they'd come over and sit at my desk and like put their hands and start doing this and this and this. And I'm like learning on the job so fast. And I think with this digital world too, people don't get that enough. There isn't, especially the ages of people and the millennials and, people wanting to become entrepreneurs, you're by yourself. You're working from home in this new day. So you don't get that one-on-one that I had with these like amazing people. So I don't get to do that because I'm not working in corporate. So I'm not sitting there with my juniors and being like, look, this is what you can do. With my staff internally, I can do that and art direct them. But I see the value in it, and I want to help people and, help them build a strong portfolio themselves and give them the tools and tips to do that.
That's awesome. I think that's awesome. And it's, giving back, right? Because I'm a huge proponent of paying it forward. Mm-hmm. It sounds like that's what you're doing in that course. I mean, it's, because I know enough about Photoshop to be dangerous. Like I'll design something and then I'll either send it to Kofi or, Victoria. Those are my, two design go-tos. Mm-hmm. And they just laugh. They're just like, just give it to me. Because what it would take me 3 hours, they could fix like a minute. And I'm like, whatever. I'm like layering, and then I'm putting like outlines on. I remember when I used to do my band posters, I did a really great job with the picture piece. Great job with that. Put the font on and, put the dates and everything that I needed to do, but it just wasn't right. So I would send it to Victoria and she would just be like,
well, there's also programs like Photoshop is good for photos and editing, but text, InDesign and, Illustrator. So like
InDesign, I can't.
Yes. So that's also stuff
I've opened up what is it? InDesign and AI.
Illustrator.
Yeah.
Yep.
Forget it. Because there's too many things that you can pull and make them do things. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's detail. Just give me the picture stuff. I'm good with that. But
that's where I live. Those 3 programs is where I live all day.
I may pick your brain on InDesign just because I just want to know. Like, I don't need to be a pro at it. I just want to know how the hell, what
you
layer.
Can set up styles and tools, and you don't even have to use layers like you do Photoshop. It's not really set up. There's layers. I do use layers in it, but it's not the same. Like for Photoshop, everything pretty much is on its own layer for the most part. Mm-hmm. But this, you can have everything on one layer if you wanted to. But it's just better for style, for text and things like that. And it's actually where I bring everything into. It's kind of, I bring photos in there from Photoshop. I bring vector art from Illustrator. So it's where I produce most of my final work.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. See, she knows her shit. I'm just throwing that out there. I do not. So why would somebody choose to work with Kim and On Brand Designs as opposed to somebody else in your field?
Yeah, because there's so many good designers out there, which there are. I think for me, it's just, I think the ability to see things on brand and give you that cohesive look, but also I think my personality, I think it's fun to work with my clients, and it's more of an experience, I feel, than just design. Because yes, there's amazing designers. There's better designers than me. There's, not as good designers. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm experienced. I'm fast because I have that experience. I can look at things and understand how it's going to work on the computer, so it's really just working with my personality, I think is what it is, because you can get results anywhere. But that's, yeah.
Interesting. Because I feel the same way. I feel like people are like, what's your differentiator? And I'm like, it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it almost sounds like it's hubris, but it's not, because you pay really close attention. It's personalized, right? It's personalized service. Like all of our clients.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really great differentiator.
And I think, right now I'm working on really taking On Brand Designs and making it my personal brand too, because I am the face of On Brand Designs. And so, it is a company, it is, a business, but it's me too, even with hiring help and whatnot, it's still me. And I want it to always be me. And so building that personal brand and that experience with me is what really is, like, we can have the same interests, not the same interests. Like, I just love people too. I love connecting. I love learning. And so learning about other people's passions too, and bringing that to life, it's so cool. So, yeah.
That's really, see, that's neat. And it's funny because I ended up, becoming the brand also. So I'm working on my personal brand because, I'm the face of Gas Stove. I'm the face of the Cookbook. And I try to keep everything cohesive, the same picture, the same, because that's me. I mean, at the end of the day, anybody who knows me, anybody who works with me, they know that if they want to hear it or not, I'm going to tell them.
Yep.
If it's good or bad, they're going to know. Because if I'm not honest, if I don't tell them, then it hurts them in the long run, because then they're not, I'm doing them a disservice, personally as well as professionally. My wife will be like, should I wear this? I'll be like, no. Is it a good thing? No. But, she won't even say that. She'll just be, you're going out in that shirt. So, but
see, I have a gentle approach when I do that. I'm like a tiptoeer around and get it out in the nicest way possible and package it with a bow and make
not
it sound
anymore.
like a good thing. that's
I used to be like, that's okay. You may want to wear something. Now it's like, do not go out in that. But she's literally like, you're not wearing that. Like, what do you mean? I bought this shirt that I still have to wear. Just because I have to wear it, but it was from Macy's, and it was a who was that? I can't think of the brand, but not Polo. Who puts that Polo? Ralph Lauren. Okay. So it's this blue shirt that has these gold trimmed blue lapels and gold trim around the collar. I should go get it, and gold buttons. And I thought it was the coolest thing for the holidays. I thought it would be neat.
That's
She's
cool.
like,
yeah.
She's like, you look like a wooden soldier.
Well, she goes, for the holidays, that works. I love a good theme. I love a good theme. That's
even not for the holidays. Like, I just decided to freaking wear it because it's like a pretty. Nope. She was like, because I was so excited when I bought it. I was like, look at this, and she was like, no. So I still have to wear that. And I know where it is, upstairs. So I'm going to do that.
Wear
it. So okay. So see, it's an hour already. It goes so fast.
We could talk forever. I mean,
well, we could talk forever. I mean,
yeah.
So, and it was funny because I was telling Fabienne. Okay, so just to kind of give a little bit of backstory on this, I had a fire, did a manifestation thing on new moon. And there were ghosts in it. I mean, there were, you could clearly see that there was something there with me. And so I sent it to Kim, and Kim saw like a native chief. And I saw like
a girl in the background that looked like she was in like a nightgown.
Yeah, that's where you, And I saw where you saw the chief, I saw like a woman in a cloak. And then like a guy walking with a king in the background, because it looked like a white, the white collars with the black dots in it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so
Thinking Coming to America now.
it wasn't Eddie Murphy. It was just like
Yeah.
the weirdest thing. And what was even weirder was everybody that I showed it to saw something different.
Really? Did anybody see
Yes.
what I saw? Because I saw
Nope.
that right away, to the point that I was even like, send it to me. And I took my iPad and Procreate and I drew quickly over it so you could see the outline. Because I was like, I see it clear as day. So
Yeah.
I also
And
had
so,
just finished watching 1883, the show, and it was all about like cowboys and Native Americans. So that might have been.
see, and two people that I knew saw a headdress as well.
Okay.
So I thought that was cool. Because I didn't see it until you drew it out. Um, and then other people saw what I saw, that it was like a woman with a cloak, with a, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so but it was like so cool.
Yeah.
It was just like one of those crazy things. And then you were doing what did you say the other day on the full moon? You were
So it
doing
was
the
like
writing.
a manifest wish. So you like write your wish down on this. I don't know what the paper was. It felt like tissue paper, but it was so cool. So you write your wish on it, and then you light it inside. They like had big bold letters on the instructions inside, which I thought was supposed to be outside. But you roll it up and you flatten it. You roll into like a tube, and then you light it, and it was so cool because it would just like raise up, and your wish would like come into the air. So you're
Wow. Now,
kind of
did you do that
manifesting
inside or outside?
inside. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I saw that you were doing it inside, and I was like,
Yeah.
should that be outside? I wasn't sure
Well,
about
that's
that.
what we thought. We were actually going to go to the beach, down to the beach and do it, which I do want to do that one time on the next full moon. But this was kind of, a last minute thing. And I was getting my boyfriend and his mom and her friend involved. And, so we had fun with it. It was a good time. Especially because my first one didn't fly, and I was like, "Oh no!"
I know,
So
yeah.
I did it again. Everyone's like, "Your wish is too
Funny.
big. You're manifesting too hard." I was like, "But I'm putting all
No,
my
you
things."
can't manifest too hard. No, I don't think that's a thing. But it's funny because when you were rolling it, it looked like, and I've heard that that's what it looks like. It looked like you were, rolling a joint. And
So I made a joke, even though I've never rolled a joint
I
in my
saw
life.
that. Yeah, I
I've
saw the
never
video.
rolled a joint in my entire life. I'm almost 40 years old, but it was
That's
I'm
pretty
funny in the
impressive.
moment.
That's impressive. I may have seen people do that in my
Yeah.
maybe. Um,
Maybe.
I may have seen people doing it while we were driving, which was impressive. But that was also the 80s, so that's a whole nother. Um, I had Brandy on yesterday, and we were, talking about, on a more serious level, like addiction and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Well, it aired yesterday. So, and when I was, in my 20s and 30s, in the 80s and 90s, we partied, and nobody thought of. I mean, there were addicts, there were heroin addicts, and there were coke addicts and stuff like that. But there was no meth, there was none of that, and some people might have smoked pot, and some people might have done other things. And man, it's like the shit that you could get away with back then. That was so bad. That was like so bad that thank God you can't do that now. Like drive, under the influence or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a different. I'm glad it's a different time because like I'm glad I'm alive. That's my friend Kim and I laugh. My friend Kim in New York. We just kind of laugh. We're like, we made it. We're like, and for a lot of people my age are, probably thinking the same thing. So, but, okay. So we're over an hour. This is like crazy. Yeah. Okay. So the last question that I ask all my guests, is what lights your fire?
Yeah, this one was a hard one. I was thinking about this, and I think just
passionate about. It could be,
just making people happy, like making people so overjoyed that like I cause that happiness. It just makes me so excited, whether it's, personally, just giving a gift and making somebody so happy, if it's producing amazing design, like it just makes me so happy. That's what keeps me going. Yesterday I did a VIP with a friend and did her logo in like an hour, one option. She loved it, obsessed with it, already posted it. Like it just, that reaction makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, cool. Yeah. So thank you for taking time out of your day, because I know you're busy.
Thanks for having me.
I know you're busy. So
yeah.
So this has been a lot of fun.
I'm gonna go freelance on the couch now.
There you go. What are you gonna draw?
What am I gonna draw? Oh. I've got logo projects and other things to work on. So I don't know if it'd say it's drawing anymore.
That's true. But, painting. Well, you say freelance. I think are you painting?
So freelance is it's a joke, because I'm still doing all the work that I had to do today, but had to do calls or other things and just behind. So, but I say freelancing because I work at my desk at home in my office. So if I move to the couch to watch TV while I'm work, that's my freelancing time.
That's your freelance. That's right. You said that earlier.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Thank you for taking out the time, and for introducing yourself to our audience. And you guys, I love you. Thank you so much for hanging in with me for all of it. Even the special edition that we did with Brandy. You guys listened and commented, and it really means a lot. And I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. So go like and share and download and do all the things. And I appreciate you all. And until next time, go out and find what lights your fire. Bye, guys.